Today in the crypto space, we're seeing the market getting a bit of a dip to the downside. Bitcoin down to approximately $63,000, down approximately 2%. Ethereum right around that $3,000 mark, down approximately 3%. And the rest of the crypto space, the altcoins, a mix of green and red, however, does seem like the market is trying to come down to lower levels. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk to you about one project, one altcoin that has been retracing and potentially found its bottom, and that project is called Mintlayer. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here. We got a lot of good price action to the upside in the last little while. However, guys, I was very, very clear on the fact that I wasn't trusting Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the levels that it was last night, I wasn't really, hopeful for a continuation, given the fact that I saw a lot of negativity throughout the momentum on the daily and the trend on the daily. And the indicators were telling me, you know what, no risk zone for me. Ultimately, it was a good decision. Even if we do see Bitcoin, get a bit of a pop to the upside, I am not willing to take chance right now. I'd rather wait for some more confirmations of a continuation to the upside, or maybe let this thing fall and then we'll be buying the dips at the lower levels. Guys, here on the channel, you know that we don't mind up, down, bearish, or bullish, but at the end of the day, when we see some negativity, it is absolutely fine to take profit. It's absolutely fine to take whatever measures possible to protect your gains and obviously your initial investment. So let's continue going down. Let's see what's going on here with the rest of the market. We'll take a look at Mintlayer today. Obviously, we'll take a look at Mintlayer. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, see what's going on there, how we can use it as a leading indicator. But as we scroll through the market, we can see Solana getting a nice continuation to the upside, up 4%. XRP finally waking up just a little bit. It's up 6.2% in the last 7 days. However, guys, it's nothing really to celebrate over. It's only a 2.8% pop to the upside. And if you look at what XRP has been doing in the last little while, it's pretty much nothing. So really, we need a little bit more. XRP has a lot to prove in the next little while to keep us bullish. Let's keep on going. Dogecoin down approximately 5%. You can see how we see the market a little bit top heavy. The rollover effect is definitely there. The hang time is getting heavier and heavier as the price lingers in that direction. And obviously, we do have volume gaps throughout the market. Volume gaps that could act as weakness and coming down to those lower levels. We see Tron. Tron has been doing great for the last little while, and it's kind of dipping down. AVAX, big picture on AVAX, it's looking pretty good. Horizontal support is nearby, so it's not like it has a long way down. Yes, it's at about 37, doing pretty good, but the bottom is fairly close by, which means that we could come down for a short-term pullback and then get a nice continuation to the upside. What I'm really seeing is a really good green market for the last little bit that needs a bit of a retracement. Seeing a bit of retracement means that we can load up even further, and that's what I'm going to be looking at for the next little while, find opportunities to buy these dips. And even if we have to get into the lower time frames, I'm totally okay with that. My long-term positions are totally filled. I'm happy with that. For example, renders up 30%, really good move there. But really, ultimately, there's nothing much really. If you kind of look at the markets, being kind of waiting for us to get in at better levels, right? Dog with Hat, of course, is doing great, 28% to the upside. But if we keep on scrolling down, really, what are we getting? We're getting dips on the 7-day, dips on the 7-day. BitTensor, does look like it may want to roll over. It did come down significantly in the last little while. This was a nice relief rally to the upside. However, maybe coming back down for a confirmation low, a double bottom or something like that will get us super bullish. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for in the next little while so I can pack my bag. You know, as we get closer, you know, to the expectation of the bull run beginning, expect that the altcoins eventually should get their altcoin season and the opportunity to scale in is going to, you know, come and go. And that's the bit of an issue here, guys. I'm expecting September to be the beginning of where we start to see some really good price action in this market, where it's going to be kind of too late. By that time, it will be too late. You know, it could even happen a bit earlier, and it might be too late to get those entries. So this is why DCAing is a great opportunity. What else do we have here? Grinding to the upside, slow and steady, guys. You can see the market is not really that convinced, guys. Floki taking a bit of a dip. It's down 3%, guys. I'm very happy with the fact that I took profit when I did on my trade to the upside on Floki. The setup was too perfect, so I had to get into that trade. And I'm happy I took profit and exited my positions on Sunday morning. Was it Saturday night or Sunday morning? So pretty good stuff there. And as we come down, we can see the market is like looking for that rollover, looking a little bit top heavy. Core is the same thing. And you can see slow grinding to the upside for some, but rolling over just a little bit on some others. For example, Singularity Net, right? It's up 14% in the last little while, but what about a bit of a rollover? If we do come down for a bit of retracement, we can get in at better levels. That's it. The market is looking fairly similar across the board. Look at this, you know, slow grinds to the upside with a few little retracements along the way is absolutely acceptable. We just got to be prepared to accumulate those lower levels, especially as we hit those horizontal supports. Generally speaking, guys, the market is a bit quiet in the last 24 hours. The weekend was healthy, but you know, leading into Sunday and now we are on Monday, it doesn't look that, you know, hot. Just be prepared for anything that were to come. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and that way you're prepared either way. All right, guys, let's take a look at some price action. I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Guys, Bitcoin. You know, earlier on today on the Discord, I did mention that Bitcoin has a couple options here. Number one option is we come down for a lower low and continue the trend to the downside. You know, bearishness, it could continue. You know, the trend is our friend until the end. And as of now, we've been making lower lows and lower highs. The question is, what do we need to see a pivot to the upside? And when do we expect it, given the fact that we're still in this trend? Let's look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, we are at critical levels, no doubt. And what I really like about this zone is this thick white line. Although it got disrespected and we did come down for hunt that liquidity, and we did get a bit of a bear trap into this zone, we can see that we got right back into the structure, which is really good. Now, what about if we see the price action respect the structure again, as it did here, as it did here, and you know, pretty much this wick got bought up so quick that this is what's the beginning of the structure. Now, if we come down and get some support again on the daily on this thick white line, the horizontal, which is at about $60,000, $61,000, it does look really solid. It looks really good for a potential pivot. Why? Because ultimately we'll be making a higher low right into this level. This higher low could give us that confirmation that it could be the pivot. Now, what I would love to see some bullish divergence into here. We're not really seeing any major bullish divergence just yet on the momentum, but the trend is looking pretty good, because as you see, we got a nice expansion down right into here, and you can see that the overall momentum oscillator is showing a bit of a higher low. If we look at the MACD, higher low, and if we look at the expansions to the downside with regards to trend, we're making a higher low as well. So this is looking pretty good in the sense that if we get some support on this green arrow, guys, I would be prepared to be treating this like a bullish reversal in this zone for another continuation to the upside to the top of the range, where we can expect more risk, right? Of course, what about if we get rejected here? Right? It doesn't mean that we have to break out and start getting into extension levels, but what it does mean is at this level, you're going to anticipate some people taking a bit of profit. Now, we could play this out where we can take a short-term trade to the upside at resistance and trail up a stop loss and then let it break out. You never know, we could leave some capital in with a nice trailing stop loss behind, and that way if it does break out, guys, 83 more or less is where I'm expecting it to go, maybe at about 82,500 more or less. That would be the next price target for me. But generally speaking, guys, that is a bullish case scenario. The bullish case scenario again is if we come down and make a higher low right here and respect this previous low and this low and stay within structure, get that bounce as this failed breakdown doesn't look the greatest. Now, what about the trend? Guys, again, the trend could be that we come down for a lower low and maybe come down to about 52K. Guys, if that happens, 52K is the target where I'm expecting a bit of a bounce, maybe slightly above 53, more or less. Basically, the 200 daily EMA. If we get down a little bit closer, it's very likely that the price action is going to come down to touch that 200 daily EMA. Why? Because the bulls are going to say, you know what, we're so close to it. Let's see if we touch it and get support. Because if we don't, then we're coming down even further, and I'm not willing to take the risk. That's the bullish mentality. So, and especially with the fact is that we have a short-term trend to the downside still. You know, after a sideways consolidation and then finally a reversal to the downside with a strong trend to the downside on the daily. The daily has been showing a lot of strength to the downside in the last little while. You know, I'm not really convinced. You know, the expansion is definitely there. The momentum is still pushing down. Look at the trend. And the volatility did get the pop to the upside. So guess what's going to happen? As soon as this does a reversal where we see the volatility now come back down along with the trend, because the trend is coming down with the momentum, the yellow line, you can see it's coming down. And when the volatility is going in the same direction of the momentum, this trend right here, it doesn't look good. That is usually when we get the bigger impulses to the downside. However, like I am saying, eventually we should get that pivot to the upside, and I'm expecting the next move to the downside to give us a bit of data to suggest whether the bears are exhausted or not. If we don't make a lower low, guys, it's an indication that the bears are exhausted, and we could be looking for a pivot here around this level. So I'm going to keep my eye on it. Right now, no major moves here for me on Bitcoin. I'm keeping an eye on it like a leading indicator. Both the trend and the momentum is not really decisive, and it's a no trade zone for me. All right, guys, so that's that for Bitcoin. Let's jump right into the Mintlayer chart. Let's see what's going on here. Mintlayer is in a really interesting zone, given the fact that it did reach horizontal support. Now, what is it going to take for us to get more bullish here? There's a couple of things that, you know, would be awesome, and there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of from a bearish perspective. So let's start out with the bearishness first. Might as well get that out of the way. We do have a volume gap below, and if you kind of look at what's happening here with the price action right here, or the volume profile and the price action looking left, you can see that there's no support levels below. If we break below this zone, which is at about 31 cents, we start looking at price action for support, and the next level is at about 19.7 cents, which means we could fall through this volume gap. And based on what Bitcoin looks like at the current moment, it means that Bitcoin could also fall through that volume gap, through that weak spot, and come down to about 52K. And then we should see altcoins such as Mintlayer come down for one more dip. Now, what about if we're holding a nice level? What about if this horizontal top of the volume gap acts as support? Guys, it does happen in the past where the top of the volume gap acts as a major support level. And that's something to consider. Now, look at here. We came through the bottom of the volume gap, got a nice bounce. We came to the top of the top of the volume gap and got a nice bounce right here. So we do get reactions on both the top and the bottom. So what I would say here is we need to prepare for both. If we come down, you need to have some capital reserved, ready to go to buy the dip. However, at this level, it would be safe to say that you're taking a good risk here. You're taking great risk, of course, getting into this position at this level. The reason being, the reason why I like it so much is that there's bullish divergence everywhere, pretty much bullish divergence in all this bottom right around here. If you look at the momentum, okay, let me highlight this right now. You can see that the momentum is making a higher low. If you look at the expansion, which is the red waves, another higher low. Okay, so let's kind of stretch this out. Look at this first expansion, came back up. Second expansion is higher. It's not as strong as the first one. And the momentum is making a slightly higher low. We're getting green dots on the daily, guys. This is a confirmation for me, and with this indicator suggesting that we are looking good for a potential run to the upside in a change of trend to the upside, which is really, really healthy. Now, just keep in mind that the price action is still making lower lows. Okay, while the momentum and the expansions are weakening in this level, as I showed you, guys, we need to understand that the trend is still coming down. So what does that mean? Could the bears be losing their strength? And it's very possible that this line of horizontal support could be the last line of support that actually stops them in their track, because they're already weak. You can see the weakness in their impulses to the downside, which means that this horizontal could act as that support, because that's all it needs is a little bit of support. And because of the weakness, a little bit will go a long way. Now, if we look at the trend is giving you some great indications. We see bullish divergence everywhere, starting from here to here, and even here on this local price action. Green dots suggesting confluence across the market, across the charts, suggesting a pivot in the trend. We can see that there's bullish divergence on the MACD. EMA crosses are happening, and the overall EMAs are trying to get into the bullish control zone any moment now, where we can expect a strength in the bullish trend. Once we get to this upside, once we see the EMAs get up here, we may see bigger expansions of the histogram bars to the upside, and eventually see this thing pop. So what I'm trying to say here is, I think that Mintlayer at this current moment is closer to the bottom than anything. I feel like this is a great place to start building a position. I like this area. This was one of my target zones that I expected. I like this area too, but you can see that we got the pop, we got a reaction, and then all of a sudden, of course, we made that lower high. Unfortunately, that's what happens here when you get the confirmations after massive bearish divergence and all of that stuff. You start to see confirmation highs, which are lower highs, and then we start making a trend to the downside, lower lows and lower highs. The question is, are we done with this dip? And as it looks like a descending wedge that has hit a good level of horizontal support. So I'm kind of liking it. Now, from a bearish perspective, also we do see that we're below the 200 daily. Not a good look. So one of the things that I would like to see is the price action bounce above the 200 daily, get a spring or a back test right off of it and spring right off of it, so we can get a nice huge impulsive move to the upside and reclaim some of this price action. The first target for me is at about 50 cents and around this zone, and then the next target is back to about 76 cents, and of course I would be taking profit along the way and enjoying those gains as we climb back to previous price action. Now, of course, getting into price discovery would be absolutely epic, but we've got a little bit of work to do here, and we could go sideways for a little bit and kind of make a nice range for the next little while. So I would be quick to take profits, especially as we get signs of weakness at about 50 cents or even 55 cents with this volume gap. Previous lows, previous tops, and a decent little volume gap here that usually has a lot of emotional individuals here protecting their positions. All right, guys, so not bad for Mintlayer. If we get into the lower time frames, you can see that it's desperately trying to hold a support level here. It's respecting the TA very, very nicely. And if we look at what's happening with the trend and overall momentum at this level, you know, we're trying to get oversold. Maybe we could get right back to overbought conditions. And you know that momentum oscillators, or any oscillator for that matter on lower time frames, it is not as reliable as the daily. So we have to keep that in mind, that at the current moment, the volatility is definitely oversold and the momentum is slowly trying to grow and climb upwards. And this is why we're getting this bullish divergence, and we're getting a potential bottom that we could get here for a bit of relief to the upside to about 50 cents again, guys. So not bad, both on the 4 hour. The daily is giving me very similar signals, and I'm kind of liking this price action. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.